Alrighty, guys. Good morning for some. It's 3 a.m. right now. Uh, I've been reading a book all day, and so far I had the opportunity to look at the market. I've been into some trades since Friday. I didn't close out on some just because I saw potential for them to execute later on this week. But let's reanalyze a lot of these pairs. So when it comes down to AU, first thing who's going to look is at the daily. Just based on the fact that we have already analyzed on the monthly, giving us the potential for the market to give us that bullish movement coming up just because of the fact that there has been a breakaway from a bearish trend line. So on a daily, we see the market find a lot of support based on this resistance. Overall, we can actually do a Fibonacci based on this level because of the fact that we don't have another support resistance level coming up. This is on daily though, just to make that very clear. So we see the market retrace at least on the 61.8% on this Fibonacci level. That gives us the idea where the market could potentially lead us for. Overall, market is finding a lot of resistance on the support. Based on this information alone, we can see that the market has, in a sense, find a lot of exhaustion when it comes down to sellers based on the wicks on the downside. So on this information, we can clearly see a potential for the market to maintain an upward trend on AUD/USD on the 1 hour though. Based on this information alone, we can almost identify a channel right here. So the reason this is, in a sense, an important analysis is because of the fact that when you see this, it's based on the fact that we can see that there's not enough momentum on the downside. So the reason I say that is the market breaks away, retest, breaks away, retest, breaks away, and it's retesting right now, and it's within that zone where it's finding a lot of resistance. So there's also going to be potential for an exhaustion going on within this general area. So for us to maintain this trade and to find an entry point on this trade is that we have to wait until the market breaks away from these areas. So for me, the expectation is for AUD/USD to go bullish, breaks away from here, retest, and potentially maintain a bullish direction all the way into its previous supporting resistance zone, which is above this area. So just to be patient with AUD, and potentially seeing that entry point, so we can find a TP up to these levels. Not much else that I can identify with this specific pair. Just a very clear picture as far as its potential for a bullish trend. There is the expectation that it could potentially reach these lows just because of the fact that there is a trend line, but overall, the fact that there is a bunch of resistance at this level, meaning that this could find a lot of support at this zone, is highly probable. So let's just wait and see. If there is a breakaway from this general zone and a retest, and there's a potential for a TP of below these levels. But overall, just based on that expectation, we could potentially see AUD/USD going higher. So EU, so far, I did have a trade on EU. I did not get out of it. I'm still maintaining it. I just reanalyzed everything to see if I could potentially see a re-entry as far as my bullish potential. Let's look at the monthly. So when it comes down to the monthly, we see the market breakaway, retest, same information that I've always talked about for the last several weeks. Sorry about that, guys. So when it comes down to the downside, we do see giant wicks, meaning that there's a lot of sellers exhaustion going on within the general zone on a daily, 4 hour. We see market retest on the support zone when it comes down to this bearish trend line once, twice breaks away, retest once and then twice, and we starting to see wicks. So based on this information alone, we can see a potential for the market to maintain a bullish trend line overall. The market is within that exact support resistance zone. We can actually draw Fibonacci at this zone. Fib retracement from here to here, and it's within that general area where it is retesting on the 78.6. So on the 78.6, we can definitely see the market execute. I'm actually gonna re-enter this trade, not gonna lie, just because of all the signs that I see as far as this potential. So my stop loss is at 50 pips, and my TP is directed within this general area at 170 pips. It's a very simple trade. It's not necessarily going to mean that it's going to execute to that extent or it's going to be that exact trade. But based on my risk management, I'm very comfortable in whichever direction it may go. So that's EU so far. Let me look to re-emphasize on that. Okay, now UJ, that's one of the few trades that I actually maintained throughout the weekend, just because of the fact that I did not see this market changing direction, and it was a fairly new trade. Overall expectation for this specific trade setup is still bearish. Let's look at it a little bit more. When it comes down to the monthly, market breaks away, retest, works on the downside, potential for the market to go up. On the daily, we do see the market within that general support resistance zone. It is not pushing above that. So there was an expectation for this market to maintain a bearish direction, at least to these levels. When it comes down to the 4-hour, we're seeing bullish trend line, market respected, breakaway, almost in a sense retested. And there is a possibility for the market to retest the zone again and potentially maintain a downward trend. So you can still see a re-entry at this trade setup. So far I'm within that general area where I'm very comfortable with this trade setup. We have a profit of 62 pips, which is to give or take due to the spread. Overall, still maintaining that bearish trend line, bearish direction for the specific trade setup. All right, UCAD. So UCAD is very, I haven't been trading UCAD quite a bit, just because of the fact that you guys know I have like 4 trades. For currencies and US30 and Ripple and all that stuff. So there's not really a necessity for that to be. For me to be trading every day, everything every day. So overall, we see bullish trend line, market retesting multiple times. It has not pushed away from the support and resistance zone, which is a lot of news for us as far as the potential for the market to maintain a downward trend. So the reason I'm saying that is because of the fact that it's finding a lot of support and resistance within that zone, and everything that goes up, and when the market tends to come down eventually. So we look at this information on a daily, not much information on a daily so far. We look at the 4-hour overall expectation for the market is breaking away from this bullish trend line retest, and it's within a consolidation zone. So this is vital information I have. Overall, on a 1-hour, we see that consolidation. When it comes down to UCAD, we do tend to see it a lot of times consolidate, and it starts to consolidate within these moves. And when you start to see that, you can definitely identify potential moves away from this trend line and this consolidation zone just from the breakaway and retest. But of course, based on this information, I do see a sell. That's just my expectation for this market. As far as I'm concerned, my safety net is, of course, it has to be about 30 pips. I'm not gonna lie, because UCAD is very, in a sense, volatile, and there is potential for wicks. So I have to expect the market a jump start all the way up here, and then potentially maintain a downward trend. So based on this information alone, my TP would of course be below these levels, just because of the fact that if it breaks away from this consolidation zone, we can see a TP from this zone. So overall, this is my trade setup. if you're fulfilled or not, at the end of the day, just don't be emotional about it. One thing about trading, if I want to be very clear about that, is that I've had a lot of you guys comment about you not being, in a sense, confident about trades or you taking L's, and that's part of a trading. I'm not gonna lie. If it sounds very ignorant and stupid for me to say, oh no, you have to have a 100% winning streak, and that's not the case at all. You do not have to have a 100% winning streak. That is not the case because of the fact that if you are a trader and you get into this industry, you're more than likely not going to have a 100% winning streak. In fact, you're more than likely not going to have more than a 60 or 70% winning streak. That's because of the fact that you don't need to. You just need to have proper risk management and win probably 6 out of 10 trades or even 5 out of 10 trades. But as long as you have proper risk management, you can potentially be profitable because of that information. So do not believe the lies when it says that you're always consistently going to be profitable. And this is not to bash anybody in MLMs at all. I'm always very, very, in a sense, supportive of people in MLMs. But when it comes down to trading, and I am always completely honest about trading, and I do not care if I hurt people's emotions. Please, for the sake of your trading career, stop relying on signals or people telling you what to do as far as how to get in the trade setup or trades to take. There's nothing wrong with learning about technical analysis from other people. There's nothing wrong with identifying trades based on people's information and you confirming them. But I see a lot of wrong with people just plugging in numbers and taking trades just because somebody else told them to get into that trade. I am very reluctant to tell people about that because of the fact that you cannot waste your trading, education just relying on other people's signals. I hate signals. I used to be, very involved in signals until I realized that they were basically creating lazy traders. And what that means, let's say, I'm not speaking negative about anything, but let's say, for example, whatever industry or company or whatever it is that goes bust, and you're no longer giving those signals and stuff. Where the hell do you go? Where the fuck do you go as far as a trader? Because at the end of the day, you're just relying on that so heavily that when that no longer is provided, you don't have that, in a sense, discipline or, in a sense, independence to become a successful trader on your own, and you start to question yourself and question this, in a sense, this potential of this, and you just give up. And I've seen that happen a lot. But that's my personal opinion, and I'm always 100% honest about my personal opinions. Not take it personal, just take it honestly as who I am as far as my beliefs in trading and my whole standard when it comes down to forex and investing in the stock market in general is that you have to be an independent individual. do understand the fact that there is a community when it comes down to trading, but I emphasize on the fact that this is a lonely path. You have to be a lone wolf. And what I mean by that is that nobody should be having to tell you to do things or do certain things in this industry because that's literally creating dependency with their products. Become independent on your own, do your own thing, focus on becoming a successful trader because there is so much more money in this industry than anywhere else. And there's opportunity everywhere, but as far as when it comes down to trading alone, this is where you can make the most amount of money with the least amount of effort as far as going out and talking to people when it comes down to that. If, of course, there's hours and hours and hours behind all of that, behind studying all that stuff, but when it comes down to this industry, this is where you can make the most amount of money without having to talk to anybody, without having to rely on a boss. This is your own thing. This is where you definitely do see if you are disciplined enough to make that choice and become the person that you want to be as far as this industry will. And I'm at the end of this, I'm gonna tell you guys a little story about when I first started and how everything was so completely different as opposed to how it is now. But first of all, for our chart on the US 30, finding a lot of support and resistance within the general area market has not pushed above that. very clear information that we talked about last time. Market is finding a lot of exhaustion in the bar zone. When it comes down to the US 30, I've been in trade since last week. Not necessarily expecting to get out of this anytime soon. I'm not gonna lie, this is a lot of money. Not even about the money, just this small move. When people say US 30, we call like 1,000 pips. That's the easiest shit to do because of the fact that this move is, if you relatively compare it to a US, let's say EU, it's about comparing this move as well. So it's not that difficult. So stop trying to boast yourself because you caught 1,000 pips. It's compared relatively to catching 30 pips on EU. That's how it is. So don't think just because you caught 1,000 pips on US 30, you're a great trader. That's just to impress people that don't know any shit about trading. They're gonna be impressed because they're like, wow, 1,000 pips. But it's relatively easy as fuck to catch 1,000 or 500 or 100 pips on US 30. So when it comes down to 4 hours, break away from this trend line retest, and it's been maintaining that bearish direction. And on the 1 hour, we can see very clear. Market breaks away, retest within that zone, and breaks away, retest, and it's within a zone that is containing that bearish momentum. So we look at the 4 hour, and my TP is of course expected right here because of the fact that this is its prior consolidation zone and its support and resistance zone within this level. So this is what my TP is at. So that's it about US 30. Ripple. So Ripple. If I'm completely honest, I do not look at the monthly, like I said this before. And when it comes down to this one, on a daily, very clear information, market break away from this bearish trend line, and it's now within that retesting zone. So I do not expect to see Ripple maintain a downward trend as far as this is concerned. There's a lot of support resistance within this level. There's been a lot of sellers exhaustion going on. There's buyers exhaustion as well. But let's look at the 1 hour to give us a very more clear-cut picture. So this information alone, if I'm being completely honest, for me, this is a buy. As far as I'm concerned right now, this is definitely a buy. You can actually identify this based on the trend line. Market is retaining that trend line, and the fact that I say that's a buy is because of the fact that the market has had such momentum on the downward side, and now it's within that zone where it's starting to consolidate. There's a lot of sellers exhaustion. We can actually do this based on a Fibonacci. If you want to be more clear cut about it, let's see. I believe it might test in 61.8. Yeah, it's within that 61.8 and the 78.6. So I haven't been using Fibonacci that much just because they're not that necessary for me as far as that's concerned. But that's just to identify potential market setups and where it could potentially lead up to. So my trade setup for this one would be definitely buy previous support zone, which is this level. Support and resistance zone. I mean, it's going to be up to here. My stop loss, of course, when it comes down to cryptocurrencies, I do leave a lot of room. So my risk to reward ratio, of course, is not often relatively compared to my currencies, but it's the way that I trade, and I'm very comfortable in this way. And I can always grow, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm always growing as far as this is concerned. So that's my expectation for this market. Okay, so let me just tell you guys really quick. Oh, and of course it's bullish for Ripple, just to make that very clear, bullish. So just to make things very clear for you guys. So when I first started trading, I'm not gonna lie, I started when I was 17. So when I was 17, I first learned about it. That was before MLMs blew up. That was before there was this commotion about. I'm 22 now, so just to make that clear. And I did stop trading for a while just because I didn't know anybody that knew how to trade, and honestly, I was starting another business as far as other things to do and stuff like that. I've always been ambitious as far as being my own man and doing my own thing, and I hated having a job and all that. But when I first started, 17 years old, there was nobody that did this. And the few people that I didn't know, they were relatively very successful. I had not heard of an MLM back then. And it was mostly people that were traders for a living. And they instilled a mindset in me that basically said that trading in the forex market was a very blessed career, but a very difficult one, where you can be successful in it as long as you have the discipline. It's very easy to have that motivation where you have people around you constantly telling you to do certain things. But when it comes down to trading on its own and it's what it really is, you have to have that discipline to in a sense educate yourself, to be on the graphs, to constantly try to learn and execute trades and all that stuff. And you have to have the discipline because there's nobody going to be watching behind you telling you what to do, how to do it. If I'm being completely honest, this is not me to be negative or anything at all. Not everyone is going to be successful with trading. And the reason I say that is because once the glimpse and glamour of having a group and all that stuff disappears and you're left on your own, not a lot of people have that discipline. And I do hear that shit a lot, that, oh, but we're a team. Even when pip culture, we are a team and we help each other and all that stuff. But I always emphasize this: I want to create independence for you guys to be successful on your own, so that in 5, 10 years, when you're doing your own thing and you're successful as a trader, you can always look back and say, I did this based on my own sheer will. I had people that supported me, but I still focused on it because it was my goal and my emphasis to become successful in this industry. There was nothing behind that as far as people always consistently telling me to do certain things. I will never, I emphasize this, I will never tell you what to do as far as your life. And that's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm not gonna baby anybody. I never baby anybody. I'm never gonna tell you that you should be on a charge. You should be. No, I don't. If I'm being completely honest, I don't care. I don't care if you look at the charts or you don't. That's just you. I see when I do see people consistently on the charts and I see their growth, I have major respect for them. But if I do not see them do shit, I don't care, because those are not the kind of people that I want to associate with. And I mean, some people like that I do know. Some people like that I do have in pip culture. Not gonna lie. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I don't think less of you. I don't think anything of you. I just it's not in my importance. But when I do see people basically focusing on trading and doing a thing besides all of that, then there's a lot of respect, and I put a lot more effort as far as if they ever ask me questions. Then that's where I definitely execute my, in a sense, education and try to help them out at the most I can because I see potential in that. But other than that, I don't really care as far as that's concerned. I care about y'all success, but I do not care about maybe anybody. That's not. That's the kind of, in a sense, person that I've become because of the fact that if you baby people, then you start to focus more on their success and you start focusing less on yours. And that's the thing that I never wanted to do. So I've always been blunt, and I've never been about motivation at all. So the reason I go into that is because when I first started trading, it was it was a very lonely path. If you guys don't know the story, I'll say very, very fast. When I first started, it was because of a class that we had in high school. It was based on economics, and we had investing for one day. And that one day, basically, it literally changed my life because we talked about investing in stocks. And I'm a high schooler, and I used to work at Chipotle back then, and I did not have the kind of money to invest in stocks. I mean, you can invest in penny stocks, of course, but I did my research and then I started learning into forex market. And once I learned about forex, it was game on. I was like crazy about it. I didn't know anything about technical or fundamental analysis, but I just knew that there was potential in this. Nobody needed to tell me. I had zero people that I knew personally in my inner circle that was doing this, but I still did it anyway, and I learned. And from 17 to 18, I was it was like a few months that I started learning, and after that, I paid for one course that didn't teach me anything. It was literally just like basic information all over again, and then I left, and I started into MLMs. So my MLM career started at 18 years old, and I started with insurance and all that stuff, and then I got into embroidery and stuff like that, and then I got back into MLMs based on a certain forex industry, a forex MLM. I'm not gonna go into names and stuff like that. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity because they got me back into trading. But I'm not, in a sense, they were not responsible for my education as far as what I learned. They did. gear me into the right direction as far as what I wanted in life, because I've always loved trading. But I never, after that, after my MLM career, I was just focusing on that. But after that, I left that specific Forex MLM just because I did not like the mindset behind it. Nothing negative. I'm not gonna say go into details about that, but I'm just gonna say I did not like the mindset behind it, and I did not like the dependency that it created. But once I left, I started buying more courses, and I fully focused on trading. And after that, I mean, you guys know where I'm at right now. But the reason I say that is because um, you guys need to have your own thing as far as this is concerned. Focus on this. Focus on this fully. Focus on becoming your own man when it comes down to trading. And in anything in life, I mean, when it comes down to this, the glimpse and glamour, there's so many people. Like it's crazy for me to see how many people are being involved in trading. That's great for me because that's like it's a phenomenal thing, and I want to see as many people involved in it as possible. But there's dreams being sold out there that you can become a millionaire in 1 year with like 5, 10, 100 bucks, and that's irrational. That's so fucked up to tell people because they have this goal to become millionaires in a year, and it's possible, but it's not probable. And the reason I say that is because that's to motivate people, and that motivates people to get into trading. But I'm very blunt and honest about people with people, and I do not tell them that they can be a millionaire within a year if they're starting off with $100. Why? Because if they're starting off with $100, more than likely they're going to end up losing that $100, and they're more than likely not going to be able to make that kind of money within the first months of their trading career because they're still learning and still educating themselves. And I hate to tell people that because of the fact that it does put them down, but at the same time, it's something that I need to tell them because this is not a game to be in if you have a weak mindset or if you do not have the potential to, in a sense, to harden yourself when it comes down to trading. If you're a great trader, I truly do believe in the saying that if you're a great trader, you're a great person because of the fact that you become a lot more disciplined and you have a lot more control of your emotions. So as far as that's concerned, trading for me has always been something like an outlet for me to become a better person and not necessarily depend on anything other than my own sheer will. So as far as that's concerned, I will always stand behind that saying. As far as I stand behind the statement that trading is its own thing. I do dislike how it's been associated with a lot of things and it's given a negative name, and that's just my personal opinion. I dislike it because it's just so, I don't know, it's demeaning trading at its own thing. It's just putting it down as what it potentially can be. And people don't see it until they're out of that, in a sense, group. And then they look back at it, they're like, damn, this really give trading a bad name because it's an amazing thing. It's its own thing. It should never be associated with anything else. I dislike it. And I do believe that there's going to be a lot of consequences because of that. Maybe not within the year, but 2, 3 years, we can see a lot of more, in a sense, government intervention as far as trading is concerned. Just because of how many people are being involved in it and how many people are not necessarily satisfied, and you're eventually going to make some people upset about that, and there's going to be a lot of repercussion when it comes down to that. Um, but that's my personal opinion. Like I said, I don't care if I hurt your feelings, but that's my personal opinion, and I do have uh, high expectation for each and one of you. And that's why I started Pip Culture, because I just wanted to genuinely help people. I'm doing this for free. Like, I don't get money from this. I literally do this for free. And it's been a very rewarding thing for me to do. I've had a lot of people thank me, and that's been great for me. But I don't do it for the recognition or anything like that. I really don't give a damn about that. It doesn't really matter to me. I've never cared about it at all. The one thing I do care about is seeing people succeed, and it's not even on a motivational or inspirational kind of shit. It's just literally, I just want you to be successful because at the end of the day, you have that potential. And if you don't want to be successful, then I really don't care, honestly. It's very clear cut for me, black and white, and I hope each and one of you guys have that very clear mindset that this shit is not about motivation. I could give a damn if you're motivated. As long as you're disciplined to do the shit that you have to do, then I'm behind you. But if you're waiting to get motivated and you have to be part of a group to be motivated, I don't give a. You have a lot of growing to do. I really do believe that you do have a lot of growing to do, because when it comes down to this, if you can do this and leave pip culture and do this on your own, then that's phenomenal for me, because then you don't need that group. Then you just have your own focus. Then you do this on your own. Then that's amazing to me. It's always great to start off in a group, but I always believe when it comes down to forex and trading, it's an independent thing. You have to do your own thing. Like, you have to focus on your own growth, and that's really where it's at for me. Like, pip culture is a starting point for a lot of traders for me. That's what I want it to be. People that educate themselves and become better as it goes on. I do not ever expect people to remain in pip culture. That's not where my mindset at. Is that I always expect people to learn what they need to learn, grow beyond their means and beyond pip culture, and become great traders. And then that's it. Move on and do their thing, like go into different businesses, real estate or whatnot. But my expectation has never been for people to remain in this thing, like remain into my Pip Culture Academy. That's never been it. And the reason I say that is because same thing goes back into trading. You have to be independent. That's literally it. And as far as motivation, let me tell you guys one clear thing. If you guys need to be motivated and to go into trading, you need to back up, reanalyze yourself, and see why you really want to do this. Honestly, see why you really want to do this, because it sounds nice, it sounds sweet when you say I'm motivated because of my family and shit, but at the end of the day, I don't give a literally. You can literally look in yourself in the mirror and say that you're fucking lying, because if you need to be motivated to do this, you don't really want it that bad enough. It's not about motivation, it's about discipline. Just do it. Just do the thing that you have to do to get to where you have to be. That's literally the mindset where you should be at as far as a trader. And you don't need to feel good to be in the trade. Like, there's times where I don't want to trade just because I have a lot of things to do, or because I'm having a rough day, but I still do it because at the end of the day, I know the potential in it. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to me anymore. I've disciplined myself to the point where I don't care if I feel good or feel bad. I just do what I need to do to get where I want to be. And I have high goals and high expectations for myself and for everybody that I allow in my life. So that's just my piece of the pie. And I love doing these videos just because I can put my input. I mean, like, I'm 22. You don't have to listen to me. At the end of the day, you don't have to listen to anybody. But that's just my input. Who knows who the kind of person I'll become at 25, or if God gave me breath at 30. But we'll see. So hopefully everybody has a great day. Uh, Probably gonna stay up until morning to just read a few books, or listen to some podcasts or something. Probably gonna hit the gym later. But overall, hope everybody has a great day. And if you guys need any recommendations as far as books, there's a book called Titan. It's based on John D. Rockefeller. If you guys don't know who John D. Rockefeller is, he's basically Titan when it comes down to the oil industry and refining it. And as far as that's why Shell and all those gas stations exist. It's because of how what he started. And I mean, he didn't do it in a sense. I don't, in a sense. You know what? Just read the book. Honestly, it was very inspirational. It was a great ass book. I don't necessarily. I always recommend it if I ever have the opportunity to. It shows you a lot of discipline. It doesn't necessarily. It's not supposed to motivate you. Just discipline wise, it inspires you and tells you to do your shit and get your shit done and stop trying to feel good about yourself and just focus on, getting things done because you have to, because you have a certain goal in mind. But yeah. All right, guys, have a great day, and I'll see you probably tomorrow.